Hi all, thank you and welcome to my channel. In this video, we are going to see how you can securely move your data or transform your data using Azure Data Factory or Azure Synapse Analytics with the help of the Manage Virtual Network, Private Endpoints, and Manage Identity. So this is the higher level diagram for that, and let's see a scenario. So this is our scenario. So we would like to implement a secure communication between a Azure storage account and Azure SQL database using Azure Data Factory or Azure Synapse Analytics. So let's see a higher level design for that. So this is a higher level design. You can see that we have a two resource group. We have a networking resource group here and we have a main resource group here. So in main resource group, we have four Azure services, which is Data Factory, storage account, server, and a database. And we have a VNet, Subnet, Private Endpoints, and NIC in a networking resource group. So what you will do first, you first create a two resource group. So that's I have already here. So these are my two resource group. Then you will go to your network resource group and then you will create your virtual network. This is the one virtual network. You gave a suitable name. You can use this URL or sorry IP address, or you can have your suitable IP address range. So you create that very quickly and then you will create subnets. So let's go to here. If you like to see how you can create it, so you go to your networking resource group and then you create virtual network. So you are creating a virtual network. It's a very quick and very easily. You can create it using the portal, or you can use a Terraform script, PowerShell or CLI or other way as well. So you just select your subscription, select your network resource group, and then here you give a suitable name. I'm just giving them anything because I'm not creating anyway, but just showing you implementation. Then you create region which is closest to or defined by your rules, so or closest to your data, and then you go to security. For temporary purpose, when you create for learning purpose, you don't need to worry about this. Otherwise you need to enable this, which is a bit costly. You can enable Azure firewall rule as well here, and even a DOS network protection as well. But however, you don't need to worry about it at all while you creating first time for a demo purpose. So we first giving a suitable names and resource group and location. You don't need to worry about security here for this demo, and then you are selecting here IP address. So you can copy IP address from given list in here like this, or you can choose your own IP address as well. So once you give IP address here, uh, and then you can see default is subnet. If you don't like this, you can delete this, and that's it. And you can add subnets here. uh, you give a IP address range which is under this virtual networks, and then you give a suitable name as well, or you can create later on as well. So let's create later on. So then you go to create and review. So that's it. Then you click here. So first you create a virtual network. So once you have virtual network ready, you go to your virtual network. I think we already have it. So let's go to virtual network, and then you will create subnets. Subnet also should be the range should be available in your VNet. So you click here, you give suitable name, you select a range. You don't need to worry about this network security groups, routing table, and others in this demo. Uh, so you just give a suitable name, and that's it. Then you save it. So it will create a subnet for you. So now we have a VNet and we have a subnet with a suitable IP address range in our networking resource group. So now you go to your second resource group, which is a main resource group, which is a demo rgdev main group. And now you going to create a data factory, storage account, and server and database. So when you create this one, make sure that it has identity on the system assign or either one of them its own, as well as if you go to the network session in here. Okay, this is resource group overview. So yeah, so for example, this is Azure Data Factory. You created Azure Data Factory. So you go to networking section here, and then make sure you have you set up these private endpoints, not a public one. So you can do it while creating Azure Data Factory, or you can do it later on as well. And then you go to private endpoint connection here, and you will create your private endpoint connection here by clicking here. So when you create your private endpoint, you make sure you use a suitable resource group, because we are creating under network resource group. So you make sure that you have here that networking group, which is this one. Yeah. And then you give a suitable name. You For example, test next. Then here you are selecting your network which you have. Oh, this is for data factory, so you select data factory. Then you go to next. And here you are selecting our virtual network which you have earlier created, and a subnet. So this data factory will create it under this subnet, and that's it. Just to keep everything default, and then you go to click next. Okay, because we have a uh, limited resource capacity, but this way you can select here. You select your subnet because I have already selected, and then you click next, and that's it. And then you will add a tag, and you create and review. Same way you need to do for SQL database and storage account as well. So let's go to here. So once you successfully implement that, you will see, you go to networking setting in each reach services, and make sure you have a private endpoints, and it's approved successfully as well. And here make sure it's a private endpoint enable for data factory. And now let's go to for a server. So this is a server, and when I go to networking section here, and here you can see that public network access is disabled. If it's not, then you can do it later on after creating as well. And private access having the private endpoint. So this is the endpoints I have created earlier, like same way we seen in data factory one. If you don't have, then you can create it by clicking here, give a suitable names, then select resource, and then virtual network which you have already created. And then DNS, you don't need to do, it will automatically create a DNS name for you service, and that's it. So that way you need to create endpoints for three different services except a database, because you don't need to create on a database, you only need to create on a server level. So once you have ready your resources, you will see your resource group like this way. So if you go to your networking resource group, it have a three, let's sort by type. So it has three NIC because we have three different services: data factory, SQL database, and storage account. You have three DNS name because we have a three DNS name for three services, and you have three private inputs for each services, and you have a VNet. So these are the resources in your networking resource group. And here you go, you have a manage sorry, main one, which having the four resources. So here you have a data factory, you have a storage account, database, and a server. That's it. And you also need to make sure that identity enable for each resources. You go to um, server, and you make sure that they have a identity enable this way. Yeah. So now we have four services in our main resources, and we have endpoints, NIC, a virtual network, and a private input in a networking resource group. So let's see here. So this is the one, we have all resources available. We don't need to worry about NSD at the moment, so I haven't created yet. So these are the steps if you want to do later on as well. You create a VNet. then you add a subnet inside that VNet, then you create a Azure Data Factory. And when you do a Synapse workspace, in Synapse is slightly different. So you have to create a workspace. At that time, you have to select your VNet and subnet. If you do after that, then it not allow. So then we have created storage account, and we need to make sure that it has a public access disable. Then we have Azure SQL database creation, and make sure it has a private endpoint and disable or selected networks. Then you have a, now we're going to Azure Data Factory for this, because now we have a four resources available. So let's go to Data Factory, and we're going to first of all manage tab, and here we're going to create a integration runtime. So I have already created here, but you can create it by just clicking here. So we are going to create a manage runtime. So you select Azure or self-hosted integration, and then you click next, then you select Azure, and then you give a suitable name. You select a location closest to your data factory or users. And one more thing you need to make sure is this integration runtime should be a same across all your environments without any prefix about environment like dev, test or SIT. It should be a same name for all environments. And then this location or region also same for all environments same. If you have auto resolve, then it should be auto resolve for all environments, because uh, when you deploy your data factory using the automation tool like CI/CD pipeline or using ARM templates or Terraform or like that, sometimes it give a complexity and it give you you will see some random errors. So make sure that you have a suitable names, and name should be same across the whole environment as well as region as well. And then you go to virtual network, and you will enable here virtual network. Yeah, that's it. So once you click on create, it will create a manage runtime for you. So I have already created this manage runtime. Yeah, so this is the first one. So you need to create a manage runtime in your Azure Data Factory. Then you come to a manage private endpoint. So you can see that this is now enabled, but first time when you don't have a manage runtime, this will be a disable. So you go to manage private endpoint, and here you're going to create it by clicking here button. So we have a two resources. We have a data for data. We have two resources. We have blob storage and we have Azure SQL database. So this is a blob storage. You just select blob storage. You give a suitable name. Again here, the name should be same across all your environments without any prefix or suffix of your environments like dev, test or SIT. This should be a same name across all environments to avoid any complexity during the continuous integration and continuous delivery. Then you will select here your subscription, and you will select storage account. So this is a storage account which have a private endpoint. So I have already used this storage account. So here one more thing is, for one storage account, when you create a managed private endpoint, you can do only one private endpoints. Not, there shouldn't be two private endpoint have pointing to same storage account. So you need to select. I already have created, so I'm just using any dummy storage account. So this is the one. So that's it. When you click here, it will be create a manage private endpoints for your storage account. We don't want to do that because this is the one I have recently created. You can see that. So you need to wait for provisioning it. Once it has here green, which is a successful, then you need to go to your storage account. So let's go to that storage account. So I'm just going to the storage account. Sorry, portal. So I'm just going to that storage account, which let's go to. I think better to get a name from here because I don't remember. So What is the name of that storage account? If I copy this, then I will get idea. Uh, this is the one. So this is a storage account. So if you go to portal and search your storage account, for that you have created your private endpoints. So this one. So you create manage private endpoint in Azure Data Factory for that storage account. Then you come to networking section of your storage account on which you have created that private endpoint, and you go to private endpoints, and you can see that here this is a pending one, and this has requested by Azure Data Factory. So we have recently created it, and this is the name as well in case you want to match it. So this is Azure Blob Storage 439. So if you go to here, Azure Blob Storage 439, so that is the correct one. And then you go to your storage account and you select it, and then you will approve it. However, once it's approved it, you need to add suitable comment. You said yes, then it will approve it. It takes some times. So once it's approved, here you will see a green one. And then when you go to your Azure Data Factory, this one, it will take some times, maybe a few minutes, and then you refresh it. So it will be like this. So this green one. So green for provision and green for approval status. That means your managed endpoint is ready for blob storage. Same way you need to do for storage account. Sorry, Azure SQL database. So it should be like pending status in here and green status in here. Then you need to go to your Azure SQL database server. So if I have here, then I can show you. So this is a data factory. This is a server one. So you need to go to networking section in your server, database server, and make sure that you have disabled public network access. Then you need to go to your private access, and here you will see one pending one with reference as well, and then you select that and you will approve it. Again, this also take few seconds or few minutes as well to green approve in here, and then also it will take some times when you come here and approve it. So you need to wait for 1 or 2 minutes for that. So after that you will see there should be a green like this. Yeah. So these are the managed private endpoint. So if you go to here, I have already added notes here. So you have created manage runtime, then you created private endpoint SQL database, then you went to SQL database server, and then you have uploaded it, and you need to wait for few minutes as well. Then you creating private endpoint storage account, then you again go to storage, now you go to storage account and go to network section, and you will add, um, you will make sure that you have a private endpoints and you upload, which is requested by Azure Data Factory. So now we are going to create a link service. So for that you go to link service, and you will create new link service. You will select your suitable service. So let's see a blob storage. So blob storage, then continue. You give here suitable name, a link service name, uh, and again link service name also should be a without any prefix. It's a same for all your Azure Data Factory. So all environment, sorry. And then this is the important thing. You have earlier created manage on time. So you select that, and here you are going to use a system assign manage identity. So it's a more secure because here you are not using access key or anything. You just selecting your subscription and you selecting your storage account which you have created a private endpoints. That's it. And then you will test your connection. This we have earlier created, that's why it's green. But if suppose you haven't created manage runtime and you want to create it via link service, while creating a link service, then you can do it here as well. So this is already available. If it's not available, then there should be one option to create a manage private endpoint here. So you can do that way as well. So we don't want to save this, so I'm just to cancel that. So this way you creating a link service blob storage via system assigned manage identity, and you have used a private endpoints. So here you can see there is no any access key or any password or anything like that, so it's more secure. Same way you need to do for storage account as well. Discard that. So you will create a new link service for your Azure SQL database. Uh, so you will select your database and then you will give a suitable name, should be a same for all other environments. You select a manage runtime, then you are selecting your subscription, sorry, and yeah, subscription and your server name and your database name. And then you will see that because I have earlier created a manage private endpoint, that's why it's green one. But if you haven't created earlier, then you can create while creating link service as well. Then you are selecting the authentication, so let's see a system assigned authentication. That's it. And then you just test your connection and you can cancel it as well. So this way I have got two link services as well here. And here one more thing you need to know, that you will get some errors here. So for example, um, here when you use a system assigned identity and when you test your connection, you will get some errors regarding the token not authorized or like that. So for that, what you need to go, you need to go to your, I think I have added here steps as well. I think I have added steps here. I think this is the one, this one. So what you need to do, first of all, you make sure, as I said earlier as well, that your Azure SQL database server has a managed identity on. Then you need to create a Azure admin user if you don't have it. So you go to your server. So this is a storage account. We need to go to server. I think I lost a server. Okay, let's open from here. So this is a server. So you need to go to server. You make sure that it has a identity manage identities on with the which is system assigned manage identity. Then you go to your database. This is a server. I think first of all you create a admin user, ADF user if you don't have it. So you go to Azure Active Directory and you will set admin ID here. That's it. And once you click this, it will create a admin user as your email ID. So this is my email ID. So I am Azure AD admin for this server. So that's why I cannot do it again. But you can just create here. And then you go to your database, which is here. It's online. So you can see that you need to log in as Azure admin user, and then you need to run this script, which is here. So we first are creating a user, which is exact name of your Azure Data Factory, and then we are giving a permission for data read and data write to your Azure Data Factory. So you need to run this script under Azure AD account using the Azure portal or Azure SQL data tool or Visual Studio or uh, any other way when you can access your database and you can run your query. So you give that one, and then after you go to your data factory and you will select your service, link service. You create your link service and you have a system assignment and identity, and when you test it, it will be a successful. It will successfully connected. So this way you can create successfully connection using the system assigned manage identity and private endpoint with a manage runtime for your storage account in Azure Data Factory. Sorry, Azure SQL database for your data factory. So once you have a ready link service, now you can create your pipelines as well. So you go to data factory here, or you will create new pipeline. You will add a copy activity like I have here. Then you going to settings of source and sync. So here you will have a new data set if you don't have it. So you need to create a new data sets by just clicking new button here, but we have already created. So you can see that here. So we have a container in our blob storage, and we have one file as well. So that's it. So you're pointing to here through a manage integration runtime. You can preview as well here, and then you going to see a sink, which is Azure SQL database. So if you don't have a database, you need to a data set, then you can create new data set. And here we are creating a table. So you can have a here, you can give any name. It not have to be exist in your database. You just give a name whichever you like to give, and then you go to your connection uh, in here. Sorry, let's close this. Then you go to in here and you click on a auto create table because you don't have a table already, so you can do that as well. So that's it. Then you, when you run your pipeline, you will see that you are moving data from a storage account having the private endpoint and system assigned identity to a Azure SQL database having the public access disable with private endpoints and VNet and manage identity, system assigned manage identity. So let's see that. So I have already added this code into this GitHub branch. So, and I have already added path as well here. So you can see that it's in here. If you like, then you can go and you can clone, and then you can see how this look. It's queuing. So yeah, so we have a two data set, we have a pipelines, we have integration runtime, which is managed integration runtime. So you can see it here, and you can see that two resources are using your managed integration runtime as well, which is these two services. And you have a private endpoints. So you have a two private endpoints. This one, I think, let me delete this. And if you go to here, hopefully it has finished copy activity. I think let's go to here. Yeah, it's queuing, but now it's working. I think at the moment it's a bit slow, but it worked yesterday, and you can see it here in monitor tabs. So these are the one, and I think even today also, and you can see that source and sink as well. This is my source and this is my sink. Yeah. So that's it. Thank you for watching this. Thanks. Bye.